So, joined today by Clare footballer Eoin Cleary. For this chat, I do want to touch on stuff like, say, your summer in the States and your injury struggles and all that kind of stuff. But I think to start off, you've gone back in with Clare this year. Is it a strange thing being involved with the Clare panel when Colin Collins isn't the main man inside in the squad?
Yeah, it is definitely initially when I went into the dressing room and I think I'm the second oldest fella on the panel at the moment. It does open your eyes a bit because you're used to being in the middle of the pack or one of the younger fellas. But it's nice really because, being around younger fellas keeps you that bit younger as well and good bit of crack there in fairness. But yeah, it was different. But look, so far so good. In fairness, getting to know Peter has been really interesting.
Mm.
He's very direct guy, knows his football, and looking forward to the season ahead with him and the new coaching staff because I think something Colin always did was kept it fresh. A coach never stayed too long, so I suppose that's why he was able to stay so long. So
Mm.
the fact that it's a new setup, new set of eyes this year, everyone's starting afresh, and you can see that bit of energy in training. I suppose naturally enough, if there's the same manager there for a few years, players tend to think, I won't get a chance here, I won't get a look in no matter what I do. So you can see that bit of energy just at the start of the season, and it's continued so far. So yeah, the league coming up now in the next few weeks, that'll be interesting. I suppose everyone trying to get a hang of these new rules, but yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, and we will touch on the new rules as well. So I didn't realise you're the second oldest in the squad. What are you? You're 31?
Yeah, 31 now in two
Yeah,
weeks. So yeah, you don't feel the years going around, right? The
yeah.
oldest is Eamon Tubridy, the goalkeeper. So I was delighted to see him come in the door. Anyway,
But yeah, it's mad. Like the intercounty game now, it really is a young man's game. I don't know. In other squads, would that be kind of similar? Do you think? Would it be, lads in the early twenties, mid twenties is generally the bulk of the squad now?
yeah. From even looking at some of the retirements this season, a lot of guys are in around the 32 mark, and I suppose in 5 or 6 years ago, you'd say, geez, they're very young to be retiring. But I suppose just the demands of the game, the amount of time it takes, the club season rolls into the county season, and it just seems like year on year. Like that's something I found in 2023 when I went back. I probably felt um, mentally drained, really, and physically also, and it probably told with the injuries I picked up because the season I had wasn't a great one, and I suppose on that, like if you're not fully at it mentally or physically, you're not going to perform at intercounty level. So it was probably good learning for me. The break was great, and coming back refreshed now with a new set of a new set of eyes, and just looking
Mm.
forward to what's ahead.
Yeah, because he had done what was it, 10 straight seasons on the senior intercounty circuit. So like, it's that's obviously very taxing on the body and, as you said, the mind as well. But was it always something that I was reading back interviews you were talking about, and you always said initially, I'm just taking a year out. Was there ever any question in your mind if you were going to come back at all, or was it always just a year?
Yeah, there was a question. We finished with the club this year, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was talking to a few of my club mates, and at the time, I thought I was going to finish up. I had a good chat with Peter before he came in, and liked the look of the setup. Liked what Peter had to say, and yeah, that enticed me back in. But yeah, definitely, Kevin. Yeah, it was a thought. Wasn't 100% sure I was going to go back in. I enjoyed the time out. I got to see a different side of life. Got to
Mm.
see more of the world than I probably normally would have. And yeah, I suppose when you come away from that bubble, you see what life's like outside of it. But I think playing the interprovincials, albeit it was probably a bad idea after a summer in Chicago because I was calving out there trying to
Yeah.
keep up with some of the lads who were going all season. But at the same time, it kind of reinvigorated that competitive edge in me and was kind of like to myself, geez, I kind of want to be here again, want to be in Crow Park, want to be competing against these lads. So I did miss that aspect of it definitely.
And like you do see a lot of players now taking a year out. I mean, Killian O'Connor recently enough just announced that he was going to step away for the season. We've seen in the past lads like Jack McCaffrey, Paul Mannion, those sort of fellas. Have you noticed a big difference in just being refreshed when you're coming back in? That you actually, in one sense, you might appreciate it a bit more, training at that level and the competitiveness and all those kind of things as well.
Oh, huge, yeah. And even for the injuries, you're definitely more grateful for the days you can get on the pitch, even just training, being amongst the lads, having that great feeling after training of a good session.
Mm.
Like before, you probably took it for granted when you got away with injuries, maybe 2 or 3 years consecutively. You just you do take it for granted. But when it happens, then it does make you stop, think, and realize, geez, this is really something that is important in your life, and also that you get a lot out of. So, um, yeah, like when I stepped away, I didn't miss it initially. Definitely,
Mm.
I suppose the league, the time of year, being a forward, I suppose, soft ground. I was at a few of the games. I was at a stag in Galway for the first league game last year, and I got a bus back and watched the lads win against Sligo, and didn't miss it that day. But the summer days, the Munster final against Kerry, you were watching that game, like the lads had a real chance, and you were like, geez, I'd love to be out there, like great atmosphere. I was watching on the telly and there was a Sevens atmosphere at it, and those are the days you miss, alright, but you have to remind yourself it takes a lot to get to those days too. So, yeah, it was good to see both sides of the coin, because I've came back now and I really am enjoying my time, and also realising that I'm not going to be doing this forever, so enjoy it while you can do.
Mm. And there was probably a sense last year, like I didn't realise you were going to so many games, but Clare did seem to surprise a few people. You know, there was a lot of talk, a lot of lads stepped away, obviously Colin Collins stepping away as well, and I think a lot of people would have just written off Clare for the year, but coming in this year now, is there kind of a feeling that, you know, the players that stepped up last year and came in actually were well able to compete and they did quite well, so then yourself, Keelan Sexton back in, and a few new faces as well, so is there a bit of optimism around this season on the back of what they actually did last year?
Yeah, there is. In fairness to the lads, like as you said, that was the general consensus in Clare with the amount of bodies that were gone. But in fairness to the young fellas, they really stepped up. Do you know, a lot of lads became real leaders in the team, and I suppose that happens too when a lot of the older guys who were on the team, do you know, they would have been getting on more ball.
Mm.
Younger fellas probably mightn't have got the chance to develop as they did last season, so that was a plus of all the older fellas stepping away. And you know, it probably has made the pan stronger as a result, and you can see the confidence. Like, I'd noticed the change in a lot of guys since I came back. The confidence they have on the ball, the way they're striking the ball, the way they're moving, even their physical appearance. You can see they have a bit of a pep in their step. So I think definitely from the guys last year, they're very hungry to achieve more than they did last year. And she looked the likes of myself and Keelan in, and a few more that are back are looking to add to that in.
Mm. And what are the observations from working with Peter Keane? Like, I know you're only obviously in there a short period of time, but what kind of sense do you get off him as a manager?
Yeah, he's a really smart fella, really knows his football, very direct. He'll tell you straight up what he thinks, and you appreciate that honesty too from a manager, because the worst thing I found over the years with managers is not knowing where you stand.
Mm.
If you're trying to make the team, not knowing what you have to do to make the team, or if you're on the team, what you have to do to stay on it. But he's always very good to just give you little pointers in your game, observing mistakes you made, but telling you the right way and how to correct them, and just really focusing on the basics and getting the basics, um, I suppose, really well, really sharp. And yeah, I've enjoyed my time with Peter so far, but you know, I suppose, look, long season there, so we'll see. Hopefully, we get on the same way we did at the start to the finish.
Yeah, and like just to touch on the injuries, like was osteitis pubis, was that the main thing you were struggling with before we stepped away?
Yeah, it was, Kevin. Yeah, I probably had it for about 2 years, and I was managing it well enough between cold ice baths, managing my training load, and just becoming more flexible. But I could manage back-to-back sessions a lot of the time, and 2023, sorry, was the year that I really struggled with it. Probably injections, anti-inflammatories, not getting to the level of training that I was used to, and my performances probably showed as a result. Um, I felt I did need a year out just to refresh and to try and get the injury right, and thankfully I have so far. I suppose it's inflammation of the pubic bone, so it's just about rest, recovering, and just trying to get that area a bit looser. And it was funny. There was an article that you shared on this page last year, and a guy got onto me after. Peter McNichol is his name, and he sent me some exercises which really helped. So
Okay.
thanks for that, because it's funny the way these things happen, that these people just come into your life. He just sent me a message on Instagram. Oh, I saw your article there. I've been struggling for osteitis pubis for years. Give me a few exercises, which I passed on to a number of lads who contacted me with osteitis pubis since, and I've heard it's helped them as well. So it's funny the way that
Yeah.
opportunity can strike like that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And like I know there's probably a lot of different things that cause that, but as you said, it's load is the big thing, and it's just rest is probably the key. But when you're playing, and even the split season possibly didn't help that as well. When you're just constantly going from one to the other, you probably didn't get much of a chance. Like ideally, you'd sit down and say, right, I'm taking 3 months off here, not doing anything. But is that the big thing you needed?
That's exactly it, Kevin. And you can't, with the way the intercounty game has gone, I suppose 20 years ago you come back pre-season with a belly and there'd be no issue
Yeah.
in for the league because everyone was doing it. But now, if you're doing that, your place in the panel could actually be at risk because there's time trials, there's strength sessions, and if you're not hitting markers there, especially if a new manager comes in, it doesn't matter what you've done previous to that. He's only going to be looking at the numbers and how you're performing. And he's got, especially with how serious the football league is, if you're not performing in the football league, then a manager's job is at jeopardy, really. So it's something that I suppose intercounty players in the last 10 years probably have had to get used to. And if you have an injury 3 or 4 months, in the football side of it, definitely, I would say that you miss a huge chunk of the season. Whereas with the hurling league, it's probably there's not as much jeopardy there. It's not as serious. You'd see a lot of different teams week to week, depending on how teams are getting on. Whereas with the All Ireland Championship and the way it is and the structure of it, you've got to win games, especially if you're in Division 2 and 3, to try and get into the All Ireland series. So it's just the way it's gone, and yeah, it probably leads to more injuries like osteitis pubis because you don't get that time to rest because you can't really.
And how's it now, having had the break? Are you on top of things? I know it's probably something you still have to manage a little bit in terms of prehab and that, but how's it looking now?
Yeah, it's good, Kevin. Thank God. I'm still doing the same exercise that I always have. I got it initially in 2021, and for that season, I'd say I had it for about 4 months. Then I got a bit of rest and recovered and was fine for the 2022 season until the end of it. So I was lucky enough that I got a bit of a break last year because that's all I needed really, just to give time to let it recover, let it rest, get a bit more flexible. And then, we've a new S&C coach this year, Shane O'Rourke. He's very good, and it's just about conversations with him, with my load, with certain exercises that I can't do. And in fairness, he's fierce flexible that way, and you can have a chat. And that's what it's important that players have to chat to the likes of an S&C coach or a manager if there's certain things they can and can't do based on their injuries, because at the end of the day, you're only of use to a manager and a team if you're on the pitch, and that's all you've got to do really is get yourself on the pitch and be ready to perform.
But it's one of the most frustrating injuries, I'd imagine. I've played with a couple of lads who've had it, and if you've done your ACL, if I do everything right, 9 months, 10 months, I'll be back in the pitch. Whereas this, you don't really know when you're going to get back, and sometimes you might feel a bit better and then you aggravate it and things like that. It must be really frustrating when you've no set time frame on it and you're just trying to manage it and get through, and you don't know if it's ever going to come right.
That's exactly it, Kevin. Like, there was times, I remember I was getting married last year and I was going for walks, and next thing I walk maybe 6k, and next thing I get a jolt into my pelvis, and you're kind of saying, geez, when is this going to come right? Like, I'm only walking, but you just have to stick with it, stick with the rehab. Like Brendan Eoin there on the Clare panel, he's a really good young Clare. He had the same injury as me, and we'd be chatting and you'd be saying, how are you getting on now? And like that, like he's like, yeah, I'm good now, but I feel a bit of a pinch here in my pelvis, and it's just about stepping back maybe for a session or for a gym session. And what I found with it is that the more time, it's funny, like if you have a lot of pain in that area, it's just better to take a session off. Just take one session off, and you'll be surprised in the next session then it could come right. Whereas what I was doing previous years was probably just being like, yeah, do you know what, I'll manage through this now, and then as a result then I break down. So look, you're learning as you go on, but it is an injury which is a lot more common now. A lot of lads have contacted me since you shared that article last year, because I suppose they were like, look, he's a fella that has it, he looks to be recovering a bit better than he was from it, how did he do it? So yeah, it's very common now.
And that's the thing, when you're more experienced and you're a bit more comfortable in the setup, you can say that, but I'd imagine for younger players, if they're playing on multiple teams, it's just a bit harder to do that, and then the whole thing just gets worse and worse. I was reading, I think you scored maybe 4 points against Dublin in the league in Croker, and that might have been a game then where you aggravated it a bit more in 2023, is that right?
Yeah, that'd be it. I'd say the session after that, we were playing Cork. I think was it the following week maybe. But we done a session and just straight away I felt a jolt into it, and I tried to play on. I played. I think I played the rest of the league games bar the Limerick game because we were relegated at that stage, so you'd play that. But it was literally about just getting game to game then, and
Mm.
it was probably the first time I've ever had to do that in my intercounty career, and I learned that you're not going to get away with it. With playing full games, you're not going to perform at that level. The level's just too high. You know, players are in such great shape now that a bit of cuteness might buy you a free or two, but 70 minutes is a long time to be running after guys like Paddy Durkin and Sean Powder.
Mm.
So you've got to be at your full fitness to compete with these guys.
Yeah, and there might be a few people listening here who have issues like that. What kind of stuff would you be doing in the gym then that you mentioned that sort of helped with that side of things?
Hip thrusts were a big one. Then the band exercises that Peter gave me, a lot of cold baths. So like just like it could be a daily thing. It was a daily thing initially when I was trying to get the inflammation down. Just
Mm.
getting into just a normal cold bath, you'd get them anywhere, and just trying to get that inflammation down. And then just dead bugs is a big one. That's a big one to keep up because it just keeps the core strong. What I
Mm.
was told was it's just about keeping the core strong, and that'll give you the best possible chance to, I suppose, keep osteitis pubis at bay. So yeah, dead bugs is a big one.
And then in terms of exercises that are kind of no-nos for you, like is heavy squats and stuff out the equation then, yeah?
Yeah, heavy squats would be, even heavy deadlifting. Like I'd still try and get a good bit of deadlifting because it's such an important exercise to get in. But yeah, heavy squatting has gone since, and it would have been something before that I would have done with the previous S&C coach Rob Mulcahy and would have improved a good bit on. So
Mm.
I do miss it to a degree because I found that you got a lot of power from it and you cover the ground that bit easier. But just had to adapt and just do a goblet squat or a different exercise that you can always adapt.
Mm. And I want to go on to now to the summer that you had in America, and like I was just reading there, you described it as a summer of a lifetime, and I played out in Chicago myself a number of years ago with Porrick Pierce's, and it's the best crack you'll ever have. It is still a good standard of football, and that it's just so much more enjoyable, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you look back on it now?
That's exactly it, Kevin. It is unreal. Like even the first game we played, we lost to the Parnells, and you're used to the club and like losing games with club and county at home. Like it's end of the world. Your head down's around the town for the
Yeah,
week, and next thing there's a lot of cans just thrown into the dressing
yeah,
room, and you're like, this is great. So it was some crack now. Yeah, like the Chicago Tones Club looked after us unreal. As you said, you get to play with a high quality standard of player, like I was playing with Keane McKeown from Roscommon, Micheál Burns, Paddy Dunnican from Offaly, Johnny Lynham, Aaron Lynch from Meath, like all these guys, like Colin Murray from Galway, top class players, and like you're friends for life as well, and
mm,
like like we did win it as well, so I suppose the club were happy enough as well, so that you can actually go back again. Like it's gas how serious they take it.
yeah.
Like you'd nearly be thinking twice about going back to Chicago again if you didn't win it, but. No, like it was some crack, and I described it as a summer of a lifetime because it was exactly what I needed. Just relax, good football, meet a few new friends, have a good time, like, and a bit of work as well. Like it was a great summer now, and something I'd recommend to any young player and someone heading towards their 30s as well.
Yeah, and like to give people an idea what it's like, obviously clubs touch base and they say they're interested in bringing you out, and there's probably a limit. Then is it 5 or 6 sanctions that they're actually allowed? Every club is allowed to bring out say 5 or 6 county players, or how many are you allowed on the pitch at the one time?
So you're allowed two. The rules have changed since. You're allowed two home-based sanctions, 5 sanctions, and then 8 home-based players.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So they do have to be quite selective in who they're bringing out, and like you're meeting a lot of these guys for the first time. Then I'd imagine you probably would have played against a few of the lads, but you're trying to bond with lads fairly quick. And then there's obviously all the home base, and I know Wolf Tones would have had a good few American-born players as well. So it's quite a mix of fellas, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Like that was one thing that actually shocked me how good the American guys had.
Yeah,
Like we'd four there: Jake Crispin, Declan Kelly, Ronan Orford, and Sean Gavin. And like the standard of football they were playing was really a high level. Like
mm,
they'd be comfortable in most club teams at home, I would say. And they're playing with the USGA team now in the All Ireland Junior Championship. So that was something that definitely surprised me. I suppose you're going over with the perception that geez, these lads mightn't be too handy, but yeah, in fairness, now like you've seen it yourself, Kevin. I'm sure with lads in the
yeah,
club how good guys are, and it would surprise you. But it was great too because it added to the whole standard of the competition.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys, like I remember in New York, I was playing wing back, marking. I thought it was American lad. This is going to be a handy day, and he's just an unbelievable athlete, like ran me all over the pitch. And then obviously when they're from Irish families, they're growing up in the GAA culture still, so they do have the skills as well, which will surprise a lot of people. But yeah, so like the summer itself, I mean, I'd say it made a big difference to the head and the body. So you come back refreshed, but also the body gets a bit of time. Like, were you able to manage your own training then? What kind of stuff were you doing in terms of gym work and that kind of stuff outside of, say, what you were doing with the club?
Yeah, that was the thing. You were still probably doing the same things. You were still probably doing your 3 field sessions and 2 gym sessions, and I was guessing. I suppose county players just have the habit of doing that anyway. Like, you'd be going to the gym and you'd see Keane McKeown, Micheál Burns, and Paddy Dunnican there, and these guys, and like that's really. I suppose I got time to do my rehab, and then also the sessions wouldn't be like, they'd be short and sharp. And at times at home, probably we're all used to their sessions there to go on for 2 hours, and they are too long. Like,
Yeah.
I think the benefit at that stage is gone after about maybe an hour and 15. Like, you should be able to get what you need to get in around an hour and 15. And that's something I learned out there, definitely. I just found that the shorter, sharper sessions, you were just as fit, you were just as fast. And mentally, you were coming out of training and being like, geez, I really enjoyed that, instead of, geez, this is going on a bit long now, and you're getting out of there and it's dark. So that was something that I think Irish people could definitely learn from the Americans.
You're not sitting in meetings and video analysis and tactics talks and all this kind of stuff. It's just get the training done and you're out the gap then, yeah. And it's interesting. So some of the names you mentioned that you played with, like obviously we see Micheál Burns had a brilliant year with Crokes, and he was absolutely flying it. And he would have talked about, same as you, how refreshed he felt. He had left the Kerry panel early in the year, and he would have, I presume, played well in Chicago and then came back and he was flying it. And Keane McKeown's gone back in with Roscommon, and Paddy Dunnican's gone back in with Offaly. So a lot of lads would have had similar experience to you in terms of just kind of, I guess, finding the love back for it and feeling refreshed, and then being happy to go back into a county panel then with the mindset being a little bit different maybe.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Kevin. Like, I think especially the guys who go there at the start of the summer, that's what they're searching for. Like, that's why they're taking the year out. Whereas I suppose the college students are looking for a bit of a break before the club championship, and it's a great thing for them. But yeah, like myself, McKeown, Dunnican, and Burns, we'd all be quite close now because we shared similar experiences, and it was exactly as you said it. Like, we were all going there to be like, geez, I want a bit of love back for the game now. I want to come back a bit, I suppose, sharper, and also win something out here. So yeah, like, Micheál played unbelievable stuff for Crokes when he came back, and like, I'd say Keane is going to be an integral player for Roscommon this year. Like, he's a serious man when he gets ball in hand, and sure, Paddy is class. Like, he's confident off both feet, like serious keeper, and be coming up against him in Division 3 now. So I'm sure he'll be trying to pick me out as a weak link in the the kickouts. But yeah, no, he's a serious keeper.
Yeah, and as you said then, it is, while it's relaxed, at the same time there's pressure on you. You want to win and you want to deliver as well, because the other guys in the club have invested a lot, and they're so invested in the GAA out there that they really want to win ultimately. There's big rivalries between all the different clubs, so to win the county title, to go on and win the North Americans as well, is a massive thing.
Yeah, it was huge. Like, and you could see how much it meant to the lads in the clubs, the Conroys, the O'Briens, John Curley, all these guys. Like, they absolutely love the club and would do anything for it. And the fundraising they do out there is unbelievable. But just keeps them going out there too. Like, they have a huge interest in GAA, and like, they love meeting fresh faces. Like, a number of people go back. I'm sure with your experience out there, you go back for a holiday and meet a few people in the club. But it could be 10 years time, but you'd obviously be tempted to go back there because of your experience, because of the connections you built up. But yeah, that's why you wanted to win so much. You saw how much it meant to them. Like, they really love the club. They do anything for the club, and it just keeps them going out there. So as much as you want to win because you're a competitive individual, you want to do it for them more so than anyone, really.
You probably didn't have much chances to head away while you were playing with Clare over the years, did you? I don't know, did you ever head away for a summer or anything before that?
No, Kevin, and it was something that I always regretted and thought, geez, I mightn't get the chance to do it. Like, especially with the osteitis pubis injury, as you said, there was no time frame on it, so I didn't know whether I'd be right or not. And thankfully, I was, because it would have been something I regretted. I never did if I didn't get the chance to do it. It was something I always wanted to do in my early 20s, but my club was, we won the championship in 15, 18, 19, and would have been knocking around really like consistently up until about 2020. Um, so like in around those years, my early 20s, you were kind of slow on leaving because I suppose you were like, geez, there's a county title here now, and
Yeah.
I don't want to come back and we're going out of it. So, but look, you have to make that decision. You have to go somewhere. You have to be a bit selfish and say, look, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So you're still gonna come back, play for the club, but you might miss a round or two. But look, you have to accept that it's 1 year. You're going to give 15, 20 years to the club, and it's just 1 year really.
Yeah, and if you're still training a bit out there, like I know some lads that just go mad in a beer and they're not really taking football that seriously, but if you're still minding yourself, you can come back into the club then and you fit in pretty seamlessly after a couple of weeks of getting used to it again, won't you?
Yeah, if you ask the club lads now, they'd probably say I was the latter with the way I came back. But yeah, no, I rightly enjoyed myself. See, I suppose definitely just as we came back, I was actually in decent enough shape before the Chicago final and then the North American, but I suppose the celebrating got ahead of me, so
Yeah.
I came back in probably a small bit worse for wear, but overall, yeah, it was some crack.
And it's 13 aside there, isn't it? How did you enjoy that now as a forward?
I really enjoyed it, Kevin. And even like you could see, like I remember Colin Murray from Galway there watching him. So like he was a guy like he was like, geez, 1-on-1 defending, he was class. And
Yeah.
in the 15-a-side game at home, then you're watching the game and he mightn't stand out, but like you're like he's a lad who can properly defend, like comfortable
Yeah.
defending 1-on-1. And like I think this new game it suits the likes of him because before you probably had safety in numbers and it was hard to see, geez, who was a good defender. You could put a corner forward and corner back and play him in a role there where he just gets on loads of ball because he's going to be free, like they're doing with wing backs, really. But I think it's going to go back to out and out wing backs, out and out cornerbacks, just the way it's gone because there is a lot of 1-on-1 defending. Hopefully, it gets like the American game because it's great. Like, even for defenders, they get as much out of just winning a ball
Yeah.
50-50 as an attacker would of getting a score. Whereas at home, I suppose you might have a sweeper beside you and a ball might spill and you didn't get that same buzz that you probably got when you were maybe 10, 12, 14 winning those 1-on-1 battles. So that will hopefully come back into the game and just give our game a bit of a boost because it does need it. Like I was tempted to go back out to America again this summer because it was so enjoyable. The 13-a-side game is brilliant, and you know yourself, it's like when you were playing as a young fella. Like it's just really enjoyable.
Yeah. I think when I was out there, I think it was Parnells that had Paul Mannion and Niall Scully as two-man full forward line, and they were unbelievable to watch. Like they did serious damage. I guess to move on to the rules a bit, I know a few years ago when you done that interview after you took the year away, you were talking about potential rule changes and stuff like that. So obviously you're coming back in now, and there has been rule changes. Is it much difference as a player, as a forward? I don't know if you're going to be playing in the middle third or whatever, but do you find is it much different? Is there more space, or what's your initial thoughts on the rules?
Yeah, they're good. Like something had to be done. You were watching games there, like All Ireland semi-finals, final. Like they're the games we all look forward to. Like I remember, was it 2013? Kerry played Dublin. Was it in
Yeah.
a semi-final? And like, geez, like they're the games that grow your love for the game, and you want to see more of that. And we haven't seen that in probably 2 or 3 years. So it needed something, but. Yeah, it's different. I don't think, Kevin, that definitely from a forward's perspective, we'll probably get a full view on it until the summer when the ground
Yeah.
hardens up because I think what these rules were designed to do was to make the game more attacking and the likes of your two-pointer, I don't think you'll see as much of that this time of year as you will during the summer probably. Maybe in Dr. Hyde Park because of the wind there going down by the graveyard there, but in majority of stadiums, I'd say it won't be. Whereas the summer there when the ground hardens up, I think there'll be a lot more of them. I think they're designed for summer football. I think they're a good idea. I don't know about the goalie one, bringing him up as a +1, to be honest with you, because I just think that, like you've three guys back there who have to stay in their position, who have to mark, who aren't allowed to do that, and then you have a fella in goals then who is allowed to do that. I don't see the benefit in that really. I know goalies would say that they don't want to be housed either all the time, but I just feel like I would hate to see it go the way that you'd have your outfielder in goals because like, football is for everyone. Like a goalie should be a good shot stopper, and I think it will bring in more shot stopping these new rules definitely, which is great really because for the last few years, you were having a lot of outfielders and goals because goalies didn't have to be tested. But that's the only one really. Majority, I think, like there is a few like technical rules, right? That like you see the one there where, say, I'm looking to take a quick free, but if I run into a back, and the back is trying to get away, then some refs might decide, oh yeah, no, that's 50 yards. He didn't give him a chance to go away. So, like, there's a few things like it'll be at the referee's discretion, and different referees do it different ways. But look, something had to be done, and fair play to them. It was a good idea to get the FRC in place, and they did a good job.
Yeah, the one of handing the ball back to the man, like that could be, that could cause issues and stuff as well. But I guess you're just trying to. It's not natural for players. I think generally you throw it to the ref or throw it on the ground or whatever. So that's probably one. But I always thought with the keeper one, why don't they just, if the keeper crosses the halfway line, one of the forwards can go back and mark him then? Like I don't understand. That's a pretty simple fix in my mind.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah.
But I suppose they can still make changes. So you imagine by the time we get to the summer, a few of these things will crop up, and hopefully they'll kind of adjust them. But you don't have to give away any state secrets now in terms of GPS numbers and stuff. Do you think, is the high speed running going to be different? Is there much more? Is it going to involve different running physically, do you think, for players, like say even compare the middle third to the inside three? What are you kind of seeing on that?
It will, yeah. To be a lot more explosive, like especially for your middle age. Like you see. From the games we've seen so far, like counter attacks are just like the pace teams are coming at. They're coming at in waves, and if you give away the ball, like teams are really going to hurt you. Can teams sustain that for 70 minutes? Probably not. Like something they might have to bring in is more substitutions because the demands of the game are going to have, and especially as your inside line. Like I suppose before, if you were on an iffy cornerback, like I'm trying to think your man's name. He's from Kilcoo from down, but like did a cornerback there. What was his name? I can't think of his name anymore.
Brannigan, no.
No, can't think of his name anymore. But like if you were marking him, you're going to be covering 9-10K because he's such an attacking threat. Whereas now, all your running is being maybe done around maybe a 40-meter radius, and it's really explosive. A lot of sharp turns. So I suppose it requires different demands too, so like that'll be interesting, and also from the injury point of view, it'll probably contribute to a different level of injury that we haven't seen before, probably more hamstring injuries. I don't know what else, I'm no physio expert, but like you see with demands of certain games, like the split season, osteitis pubis is now very prevalent. So I'm sure we'll see some phenomenon, but look, like something had to be done, and overall did a good job. But I think that's a good one with the forward marking the keeper to bring it in. I think it's fair. It doesn't house the keeper, but also if he goes up, someone can mark him. That is a really good one.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you're talking about there, the front three. Like obviously you'll be a lot fresher now. You're not running back, tracking a runner, then getting back up the pitch and just trying to come in the loop. Like all of a sudden now you have a bit of time to rest and recover, and you can go flat out. But I do think when some people talk about, you're getting a rest up there, like if you're one of those three lads, you're going to be expected to be moving when the turnover does happen, and you're going to have to make a burst to the wing. So it's probably a different type of, for the inside three, it's going to be a lot more flat out sprints, I would imagine, than just kind of the jog back and the jog up and coming on the loop and that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny with the three, you see at the moment when there's a turnover ball, and say one of the guys who's a designated three is that he might be around the 45-meter line and someone else is inside. Well, then he's running back, but also he's pointing to someone else to stay in the tree. So it requires a good level of communication, lads to have their heads switched on, and there'll be plenty of mistakes. There will be plenty of times. I actually broke the line in the Munster game, and like there'll be plenty of times I'll break it because a ball is there and you're looking to go for it and you're not even thinking. And then you're dependent on your teammates as well, that if someone sees you there, that they're not just nonchalantly jogging back. So there will be plenty of 50-meter penalties. That's the one really, that the 50-meter penalty is a bit harsh, but again, you're going to have to see competitively. It could work really well. Like it's happening in games we've seen, the interprovincial games and that, and you're saying, geez, it's very harsh, but when you see it competitively, it could work really well. So I think we won't really know how the rules are until we see them competitively.
Yeah, and it'll just take you time as well as a forward three or whatever to to communicate or to know, because you know yourself, when you're playing in the bigger games now, you won't be able to shout across at the fella to
True.
hold his run. So it's going to have to be just an automatic thing that, right, he knows if I'm going back here, someone has to get up and fill the space there.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like Crow Park All Ireland final day, you can imagine guys there. Like if a guy in a tree goes up and a wing forward isn't just thinking I has to get back, then that's a 50 metre penalty and a handy free. Yeah, great point. Yeah.
Yeah. And what are the conversations like then among the players? Because like the management can lay out so much, but they don't really know. We're kind of going into unknown territory here. Is a lot of this that you're chatting away among yourselves, going maybe we could manipulate it this way, or we need to do this, or
Yeah.
what's that looking like as a player now?
Yeah, it is like you're thinking of all these different ideas, but I suppose you can get lost really in these kind of like
Yeah.
technicalities of making different runs, or some guys stepping out over the line and some guys stepping the other side of the line, this kind of thing. But like there'll probably be a lot of set plays that way from kickouts and stuff. But I'd say in general play it'll just come down to basics really, like just getting the basics right. I think like teams will have set plays because I suppose we've seen the likes of Armagh in recent years, putting the hand up or clustering in the middle and then breaking out. Like no doubt they'll have set plays for the tree up and different things, lads stepping out over the line at the right time. But I'd say so far all I've seen is just like, just lads concentrating the basic skills, just a lot of communication, a lot more talking. But as you said, try and do it on an All Ireland final day or a packed Crow Park. That'll be interesting. Probably a lot of 50 metre penalties at that.
Yeah, definitely. And geez, it'd be a shame for a final to be kind of decided by something like that. And I can imagine the controversy after in the media and stuff if it does happen. But just so I guess to look ahead to this year, again it is a bit of an unknown with the rules and stuff like that. But the league is always massively important. Is it Antrim away that you have in the first round in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, Antrim away now. Yeah, they'll be very tough. Any like we've been used to being over or playing Andy McEntee teams for years with Meath, and they were always really tough, really dogged, really wholehearted, and I suppose any team in that division is going to be really tough. I've seen it every division every year. That any year I was involved with Clare, three, I wasn't involved in four, but 3 and 2, and like it can go anyway any year. Like in 2015. We barely stayed up. We beat Fermanagh on the last day, and in 16 we got promoted, and we were in Division 2 ever since then after it. And we got promoted after losing 3 games, I think, on scoring difference, which was very unusual. So it's the same like Antrim, Fermanagh, Leitrim, Laois, everyone in that division, like Kildare, all these teams. Like there's Sligo, there's going to be nothing in it. Like, but it's great though. The league normally is the best competition because teams are so evenly matched. So you'd always look forward to it. One thing I always said, it was probably played the wrong time of year because it is the best competition and teams are so even. So that's the only gripe really.
Yeah, and even like January and February now seem to be the worst weather that we get. Generally, it's November, December aren't too bad, but games called off, snow this time of year. It's not ideal really to be playing sometimes your biggest games of the year or most important games really.
Agree fully. Like, and I suppose that's why they brought in the likes of the Tailteann Cup and that because like the ladies have it right. I do think that if they were going to bring in the Tailteann Cup, they should have done the senior, intermediate, and junior, because like they market it really well. They do their all stars. Like there's big nights in counties when they do win, be it a junior All Ireland or intermediate All Ireland. I think that was the only mistake they made. They should do the 3 if they were going to do it at all, or just play the divisions during the summer, because it's really exciting for a player. Like every game you play, and you can play the style of football you want at it. Sometimes if you're playing a team which, like if you're playing the Dubs back in the day, you were going to have to bring 14 behind the ball, become really offensive to even compete. But against any of these teams, you can play your style because every team is evenly matched. So that's the great thing about the league. It's always a great competition.
And for you personally, then the body's feeling good. Looking forward to the year ahead.
Yeah. So far so good. I suppose a lot of training to go before the first game, but at the same time, so far so good. Training has gone well. Our S&C coach is very good. Physios, like I suppose that's the benefits of being part of an inter-county setup now. You can get I suppose the best professional people in the county or outside it are available to you. So you give your body the best possible chance to be in the best possible shape for the games ahead. But look, just with the load and how competitive training sessions are and games are, injuries are going to happen. In every squad you'll have 20 injuries a year to 20 players. Some of them might be minor, some of them are major, but it's just next man up, and you're just hoping, of course, that you're one of the lucky ones that you can just manage through injury, do your injury prevention, and have a really good and exciting year. Because once you're on the pitch, I always say defeats are tough to take, but try spending 6-7 months out injured. That's when you really miss it. So I suppose I found that yeah, when I lose a match now, I'm disappointed. But when I'm playing there, you're still in the thick of it. You still get that thrill, and that's all you want.
Just the last one. Does it take you a while when you do step away from intercounty to come back in? Does it take you a while physically, just to the body gets used to the level of training that you actually feel like I'm back here? What's that process look like for you?
Yeah, definitely, Kevin. I'd say it took me definitely 3 months, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, roughly. And majority of that was me training on my own. When the club finished, I knew I had to hit the beach, hit the pitch, just put in my own work before we went back on December 7th. So, like in previous years, I might have been able to take a break after club because your body would be well conditioned, you'll be after county season. But I knew this year that probably had to go straight through to get to the level required to just get up to pace really with the rest of the lads. You can see how comfortable they are just transitioning from their club season to county, taking their rest, and whereas when you take the year out, I suppose you're not as stringent as you probably normally are. With food, drink, everything else, and you kind of learn that the hard way when, like, I didn't Crow Park that night.
Yeah.
But good learnings, because you realise that you need to work harder and to get to that level. But I enjoyed it. The slog was tough at the start, but I'm in a good enough physical condition at the moment now, and a bit more to go. But I'm happy with how I've progressed.
Yeah, well, look, I think part of being mentally refreshed is just you let that part of it slide as well, and you allow yourself to enjoy things a bit more, and then obviously you're going to have to work a bit harder when you come back in. But no, that was brilliant, though, and that was really interesting chat. I think people should find it very interesting, especially around the injury side of things and the summer away, and the benefits that you can get from that as well. So best of luck now with the season. Hopefully you have an injury-free year, and looking forward to seeing you back on the pitch with Clare.
Sound, Kevin. Thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed it.